Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well tonight. So I just want to say a big hello to everyone who's on the stream, starting with Miles. I hope you're very well, Miles. Dude, great to see you once again. Watched some Father Ted all 3 seasons on YouTube. I recommend I'm Not a Racist one. I think that was called Are You Right There, Ted? It's a fantastic episode where I actually shared it on what was it, the video? Well, I shared the video on Discord server earlier today or yesterday, so you can check it out if you're on Discord. We have Stellan. Great to see you, Stellan, from the land of Hamlet. Fantastic. Let me see. Killer, great to have you on, Killer. You're always a great moderator. Dude, okay. Who else have we got? David Clay, great to see you, David. Ria, great to have you on. Dano. Pete, great to see you, Pete. Kevin, great to have you on, Kevin. Tiny Demolition Lover, great to have you on again. I hope you're very well. Who else have we got? Tom, great to have you on, Tom. Thanks for moderating again. Night Raven, great to have you on again for the mods. Then we have Declan McCardo. Great to have you on, Declan. Brian, great to see you again, Brian. Buonasera a tutti. Buonasera a te. We have Kenny. Great to have you on, Kenny. I hope everything's well over the other side of the pond. Magister. Great to have you on, Magister. Then we have Joan. Great to see you, Joan. Andrew. Hi. John. Great to have you. Adrian. Great to see you. Herbie. Glasgow Case. Great to have you on. Kevin. I think I said hello to Kevin. If I didn't, sorry. Giorgio. Great to have you on, Giorgio. Levi. Then we also have John. Stumpy. Great to have you. The Freckly Punny. Fantastic names. John Hart. John Hart talked about Bolsonaro, and I'm going to come to that in a bit. Then we also have, I think I already said hello to Adrian. Then we have BHXM. Great to have you on. Macs are better than PCs. Great to have you. Darren. Oh, thank you very much for that super chat. Who has sent me a super chat? The Big Magnet. So Trump's friend Kanye West saying he's running for president and Elon Musk giving his support. Peak weird in the US campaign, or Terry Crews next. Yeah, that's really weird. So I'm going to come to that in a moment. The Big Magnet. So I'm just going to finish saying hello to everyone. Thanks so much for that super chat. Temps, great to see you. Tim, great to see you. Tiger, great to have you on. Wee Scott's Dog, I hope you're very well. Hope everything's well. You're up there in Scotland. Internet, great to see you. Igor, great to see you. And I think we have everyone. Christian, great to see you once again. So just I want to respond yes to, and thanks again for that super chat, the Big Magnet. Okay, so this idea of Kanye West running, which is weird on so many levels. So first of all, I think it's weird that he's a Trump supporter and he's considering running for president. So I assume he's running against Trump. Elon Musk has given him support. I don't know how much that will influence anything. Of course, Elon Musk is extremely influential, but Kanye West is going to run as an independent? Is he going to join a party? It's a bit late in the day for running for president. Does he have offices open? Is he planning to open offices in different parts of the country? You know, running for president is not just something you can write on Twitter and expect to win. It doesn't work like that. You need a ground team. But also, I think this is probably more likely related to the fact that I think I'm not a fan, or I don't even listen to his music, but he's releasing a new album. So what better way to promote your album than say you're running for president? Let me see. We also have Pauline. Great to see you, Pauline. Mrs. VSN. Great to see you. Bite Size Ghost Stories. Great to have you on. Who else have we got? I think I've said hello to everyone, so I hope everyone's very well. Elon Musk claims to be a socialist. I don't think Elon Musk is much of a socialist now. Let me see. US in mental state, not a country. Yeah, I think this whole... I thought he was running as a joke. Yeah, I think it is a bit of a joke. Well, I think it's a way to promote his album. I think that's really what this whole thing boils down to. Sean, great to see you. Jamos, great to see you. Paul Gallagher, great to have you on. Akuma, great to see you. Hope you're well. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing very well. I'll just wait for some more people. Well, we're up to 145. That's fantastic. Just shout through the wall to say hi. Very, yeah, that's true. Bite size. About bite size. Yeah, she's just actually, I'm in the in the next room, so I am literally. Conway hasn't filled out the FCE, and the states have deadlines to get the ball on, to get the ball as independent. They're coming soon. Yeah, I think Max for president. Yes. I would sort out a lot of the problems. MSJ, great to see you on. Thanks for coming on the stream. Benjamin, great to have you on. Yeah, once again, I'm being maybe overly cynical, but I think the idea of Conway West... Lee Picton, great to have you on. I think the idea of having Conway West running is just... Really, it's just about promoting his album. Lenny Harry, great to have you on, Lenny. Hope you're very well tonight. Magus, sorry, good to have you on. If Conway runs, he he does it. Tomsk, sure, Trump wins again by eating into Biden's vote. But I don't see Conway running. I don't see him eating into Biden's vote. I see him more eating into Donald Trump's vote. Everyone thinks they can. Conway talks a good game, but I don't believe he's serious. Given number 45 won, everyone thinks that they can. Conway's potentially split vote from Biden. I want Conway West as the new PM. Jay, great to see you, Jay. Hope you're well. Conway's a Trump supporter. Yeah, and this doesn't make any sense. Why would he run against Donald Trump if he's, walking around with a Make America Great Again cap? So it doesn't make much sense. So I just want to tell you a little personal story that's happened to me before I go into this article. This is an article about what's happened recently in Italy. So normally I'd start the live stream by giving you a bit of an update of what's happening in Italy. And normally there's not that much to say about what happened and what's been happening in Italy, because the number of cases have declined sufficiently, and new deaths are still quite low. Sorry, my chair is going down too much. Okay. So today, or not today, when was it? The day before yesterday, I had Jean-René, great to see you. The day before yesterday, I went to a store to buy something, and I had a weird experience. So when you go into this store, it's called Decathlon. Maybe you have it also where in your part of the woods. It's a sports store. And I went in because I don't have any sunglasses. I know on the my avatar has sunglasses, but I don't have any sunglasses. And it's getting very bright. The summer has arrived, so it's getting very sunny, and it's difficult to go around without sunglasses. But anyway, I was in Decathlon. I wanted to buy a pair of sunglasses, and I was looking at some on the shelf, and at that moment, two small kids, bumped into me. They were running around and they bumped into me. And I didn't really say anything about it. I was like, okay, just brush it off. Okay, because when you go into the store at the beginning, they check your temperature and they ask you to wash your hands, like to sanitize your hands. So there's a guy there with a thermometer, and he checks your temperature as you enter the store. And then you have to follow, the markings on the floor to make sure that you don't double back, or you don't exit the entrance or enter the exit. Anyway, so I had gone through, got my temperature check, and sanitized my hands. And I was looking at some sunglasses, and a guy. So these two kids crashed into me, and I was like, okay, whatever. Their dad was standing next to me, and he wanted to look at some sunglasses also. And as I had them in my hand, what did he do? He placed his two hands on my shoulders and moved me aside because he wanted to look at the sunglasses. Now, at that moment, I was shocked, to say the least. And I was dumbfounded. I didn't know what to do. And I moved out of the way, and I continued on. And then after that, I was really angry with myself, because I was thinking, what the hell just happened here? This guy touched me, and he moved me out of the way. And maybe I'm overreacting here, but I was, after I was really angry with myself, because I should have said something. I said, first of all, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing touching me? Even before COVID, but especially now with COVID-19, on the rampage, someone invading my space, first of all, and not respecting social distancing and touching my shoulders and moving me out of the way. And after Malky, that's not, after I'd belt him, after that, I was just, because it happened, I was, for a moment, I thought maybe it was somebody I know, and then I realized it wasn't somebody I knew, and I was just so shocked. I didn't do anything about it. And then after, of course, it went through my mind for the rest of the day. Why didn't I do something? Why didn't I say something? That would get so much shot here in America. Probably, and well-deserved, Kenny. But, first of all, after I thought about it, I was like, okay, what if I had been infected? What if he had been infected? Just the idea of touching someone is beyond the pale for me, before COVID, and now because of COVID, we've gone through all of these checks. Both of us were both in the store, so it's not like we met outside or he did it outside and didn't know. Is this usual in Italy? No, it's not. It's very unusual. That's why I was so taken aback by it, John. I was just dumbfounded. And the worst thing about it is, after it was going through my head, going, why the hell didn't I do something? Why the hell didn't I say something? But with this type of person, I think it's best just to avoid. I don't want to get into a fight with him because if he is infected, then I'm definitely infected after that. But just the arrogance of putting your hands on someone else's shoulder and moving them, just going, Ray. He wouldn't do it again. Probably that is a good idea. That was disgusting behavior. Virus or no virus. Thank you, Paola. I agree. The new normal. Yes. No, just the most angering part was that I didn't say anything. I just went with it. But anyway, that's enough of that. If it does happen again, which I hope it does not, I'll be better prepared. You could have feigned a few coughs and sneezes. I should have done that, yes. You think of all these things after. Best thing was to do nothing rather than to get into his aerosol infective in a shouting match. So retreat 5 paces, turn, and Paddington hard stare. Yes, well said. But wow, I thought it was mandatory to wear masks in shops. It is. We were both wearing masks. That's the weird thing, is that but he placed his hands on my shoulder and moved me aside. Weird. Okay. So I just want to go to this story that's that actually broke some time ago, but I've only seen it just before we started the live stream. So it says here, Italy could sanction people who refuse treatment for COVID-19. So this is related to a ridiculous story, that's happened. So some of it is in the article. I didn't get a chance to get any more information about it, but I will comment on what I have heard. So Italy's health minister has proposed sectioning people who refuse hospital treatment for COVID-19 and has suspended flights from Bangladesh as the southern European country grapples with several new coronavirus outbreaks. The potential move towards forced hospitalization came after a cluster of infections arose in the northern Veneto region, where I am. I live in the Veneto region, triggered by a man who developed coronavirus symptoms on the day he returned from a business trip to Serbia and initially resisted treatment in hospital. So I don't know if I just want to double check. So yeah, it says also here. So the 64-year-old from Vicenza is about 100 kilometers from where I live. Hooray! Is now in a serious but stable condition in hospital. 5 others tested positive, and 89 people were quarantined after he attended a funeral and birthday party at which there were more than 100 guests. So this guy, as far as I know, I don't know the full story, but from what I know, he went on a business trip. He came back, he was tested, he was told to self-isolate. Is he a Trump supporter? Maybe. He was told to self-isolate and he refused. And then he said, to hell with this, I'm going to a funeral and to a birthday party. And he infected a load of people. Now, I hope these people sue his arse after he's put in prison. Place him under house arrest. I agree, 100%. In Italian, you call this a coglione, which is in Irish slang a bollocks or a gobshite. But even if you don't know Irish slang, you probably have an understanding of what gobshite is. If you don't, I do recommend watching Father Ted. I'm evaluating with my legal department the hypothesis of compulsory health treatment in cases where a person must be treated by but refuses to be, said Roberto Speranza, the health minister. The health minister said, at the same time, my thoughts on how Italians have behaved during the crisis are positive, as without this fundamental harmony, we would not have bent the curve, the rate of infection. Yeah, so Italians have been, I know both Italian and Irish slurs. Okay, well said, Will. Premeditated manslaughter, surely. Deny hospital treatment, more likely. Yeah. It's the idea that you would get infected and then test positive and then refuse to actually do anything about it. What? Did the Berlusconi refuse to take a bleach emina? A self-entitled libertarian. Bet he votes for the Northern League. Well, it is in Vicenza, and Veneto is very much in for the Northern League, yes. But Italians have been following the rules pretty much to the letter, during the lockdown. But of course, there are idiots everywhere. Speranza also warned that those with COVID-19 who break isolation rules face jail, and that the 14-day quarantine measure for people arriving in Italy from countries outside the Schengen area must be adhered to. Under Italian law, anyone who neglectedly spreads the epidemic risks a prison sentence of up to 12 years, while anyone who does so willfully may face up to life imprisonment. Good. Luca Zaia. So Luca Zaia is the president of the Veneto region. So I've talked a little bit about him before. Also calls for forced hospitalizations, and has introduced €1,000 fines for people who flout quarantine rules. He said that until the end of July, hospitals must tell the public prosecutor's office of anyone refusing admission after testing positive. So the Italian government is coming down pretty strongly on this. So we can see the number of cases around Europe. This, I think, is necessary. I think you have people not following the rules, getting infected, and then just flouting the rules after they're infected, where they should self-isolate, at least self-isolate. Now, the idea of sending people into hospital is controversial, but it is understandable. Just something more about this. It says here, the minister said he suspended flights from Bangladesh for a week after a significant number of over 200 passengers who arrived at Rome's Fiumicino airport on Monday from Dhaka tested positive. The tests were enforced after an outbreak from the Bengali community in the Lazio region, where 12 of the 19 cases registered on Monday originated from those who had recently arrived from Dhaka. After all the sacrifices made, we cannot afford to import infections from abroad, Speranza said. Better to continue to follow the line of utmost caution. I agree. Yes, Italy has suppressed pretty much completely the number of new cases, and then most of the new cases coming in now, most of the new cases today are imported, so they're coming from other countries. Okay, I just want to respond to some of your comments. If I just go through quickly. Did someone see the ridiculous video of Mark Francois trying to threaten the head of the armed forces with come and sorting him out? My God. No, I didn't see that, Danilo. Must check it out. Scraping the barrel, if there's any way that could criticizing Starmer. No, I don't know. Keir Starmer, QC, Director of Public Prosecutions, approved a decision not to prosecute any police over the shooting. The family only dropped their legal appeal at 2012. I was just watching the live stream of a Trump conference on David Pakman's channel. Very unified views there. Just before go on this live, your other page says maybe adults get vouchers. Is this likely to happen? Yeah, it seems to be what's happening at the moment. So the Chancellor of the Exchequer in the UK has decided to, not decided, but it's something that's been thought of, or it's being worked out at the moment, of providing members of the public with £500 vouchers. But it's not for food or for rent or paying bills. It's to spend in restaurants and face-to-face industries. So I think it's a helper. It's better than nothing, but it doesn't really go far enough. Kevin says Elon Musk proclaims to be a socialist, the Pope claims to be Protestant after he's converted from Islam. Well, socialism for the rich, and unbridled capitalism for everyone else. You know, if we want a bailout, we become socialists. That's big business's idea. Sundek's free money reign is about promoting himself. Albums were so 1970s. Marilena, great to see you. Hope you're well. I don't get it. You don't like criticism of Starmer. Only criticism of the demagogue that is Boris Johnson is allowed here. No, you can criticize Starmer. I have nothing against the criticism of Starmer, as long as it's justified. There are people who criticize him because he's Labour, and he's not a Tory. Okay, let's move on to the next article. I'll leave that till a little bit later. So I just want to go quickly over this. Is, of course, related to COVID. It's interesting how some countries are trying to do everything they can while other countries just don't give a crap. So this is an interesting story about, this is broken just a few hours ago. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro announced to reporters on live TV. Sorry, Brian, I just respond to Brian's super chat. Thank you so much for that super chat. When do you think the Americans will be let back into the EU? 2021 or later? And will they learn from the disaster? So the second question, no. And the first question, when will they be let back? So I don't think... well, Americans is a broad term. So will Americans learn from this disaster? I think the states, especially the democratically run states, have taken the right approach. They've imposed lockdowns. They've attempted to find PPE and ventilators and whatever necessary resources are required for their hospitals, for their healthcare systems. And they've done, a reasonably good job considering the disaster that they've had to face. They've been abandoned by the federal government. So if we look at New Jersey and New York in particular, New York probably the better example. They were almost overwhelmed with cases, but they struggled through and they have come out the other side. But they, as a metropolis, imposed a lockdown, and of course they lost a huge number of their citizens, but they have taken the right approach. Now what you're seeing is instead you're seeing in other states where they decide not to impose a lockdown, just to allow people to wander around freely without masks, without hand sanitizer, without any type of precautions. Those hospitals, for example, in Texas and Arizona, are starting to be overwhelmed. And the governors there are making political decisions. They're not making decisions based on science or on the evidence. All of the decisions are political. Well, we don't want to piss off our Republican base who don't believe in science, who don't care about wearing masks or using any type of protections or maintaining social distancing. They see it as a threat to their liberty. So let's just ride out the wave. And of course, that's the disaster that they're seeing. Is I was going to show it later, but I can just say it now. It's one example was the state of Arizona, which I think had 150 new deaths today or yesterday. And the state of Arizona has, I think, 4 million people, a population of 4 million. Now, the number of deaths in total is still low, but 150 deaths today or yesterday is, if we compare that to another country with a similar population, the Republic of Ireland, which has seen much fewer cases, because they took the right approach. It all depends on the approach that you take. So will they learn? I think some states will learn, some others will not. Now, when will Americans be back in the European Union? I think probably, I would say maybe the latter half of 2021. Or at least when, well, it depends on who will be president. If Joe Biden is president, I think he's going to take a more proactive approach to the coronavirus. I think he's going to deal with it in a much better way than Trump is. So I think they'll be able to suppress it much faster. But if Trump is president, you're going to see more of the same, and I think it's going to last a lot longer, and you're going to see a much bigger death toll. So thanks for that super chat. So let's just look at this about Jeff. Great to see you, Jeff. I hope you're well. I liked your video about was it about, I think it was your video about I know this isn't Jeff Taylor really, but my old friend Jeff, but I liked the video Jeff did on think it was Sundak's £500 coupons. I didn't watch all of the video, but I watched most of it, and it was a good video. So I don't always disagree with Jeff Taylor. Okay. So Brazilian president, it says on live TV, Bolsonaro, who has consistently minimized the impacts of the virus globally, was tested after reportedly having a high temperature and persistent cough. Over the weekend, Bolsonaro attended the 4th of July celebrations at the American Embassy in Brazil's capital. Why would he do that? Okay. Well, I guess you could ask, why does Donald Trump celebrate, or why does the US president celebrate St. Patrick's Day? At the American Embassy in Brazil's capital, adding to the numerous high-profile events he has attended during the pandemic, the American ambassador to the country says he will also get tested as a result of the announcement. Brazil has seen more than 1.6 million cases and 65,000 plus COVID-related deaths. I think the real number is much higher than 65,000. I think we'd have to see the number of excess deaths. This is the better number to go by, the number of excess deaths, because it shows the difference between people who normally die and people who have died. Because in many cases, people the death certificates don't have COVID on them, so they're not part of the national statistic on deaths. And it also includes people who died because they couldn't get into hospital, because the hospitals were overwhelmed, or because they had cancelled other treatments. These people are still victims of the pandemic, if not directly, more indirectly. Trump just announced the US is withdrawing from the WHO, the World Health Organization. Bolsonaro was caught with his hand on the American ambassador's arm. Ambassador is now in quarantine. Will Bolsonaro survive? Probably. I think Brazil would be better off with somebody, Lula would be much better president, of course. Bolsonaro was interviewed today saying his fever is gone, wearing a mask while he's rolling back mask guidelines in Brazil. Yeah, it's really weird how you'd see people like Bolsonaro criticizing mask wearing while wearing a mask, or he'd be saying there is no virus or whatever, and his bodyguard behind him would be wearing a mask. They don't understand the optics very well, do they? Britain's excess deaths are sitting at around 65,000. Thank you for that, Lizzie. That's horrible. But it's understandable because so many people are not included. Brazil has tested only 4 million out of 220 million. Loony men running the countries with out of control numbers. A friend from Northern Ireland said if Trump is re-elected, he's saying World War III will start if Joe Biden or whoever his name is will win. Do you believe it? No, I don't believe World War III will start if Trump isn't re-elected. Trump will throw a hissy fit, but we have to remember that if Trump loses, and I hope he loses by a landslide, but if he loses by a landslide, I think he will go reasonably quietly. But if he Apologies, there was some problem with the stream for a moment. Apologies about that. I'm not sure what happened. We should be back online now. Damn hamsters. So Trump throws a hissy fit on days ending with Y. Correct, Dean. About September, people will start worrying about Brexit again. Will people start worrying about Brexit again? I think the Brexit days are over. People will start worrying about Brexit in December, I think. Hamsters didn't get enough likes. Yes, hit that like button, guys. The hamsters didn't get enough and they fell off their wheel. We need Trump to lose in a landslide to make sure Trumpism is buried. Yes, it needs to be a landslide. If it's a knife edge, I think I got cut off because of the live stream drift for a moment. If it's a knife edge, it's extremely worrying because Trump will contest it. And you're going to see a messy situation. If he loses by a small minority, you're going to see him sniping continually at Joe Biden. But we will have to see. If people need to really turn out and vote against. Hamster in a MAGA hat. This is not peep shot. 120 peepers. Hit that like button, guys. Yes. Okay, let's move on to the next. So this is an interesting video. I'm going to come back to the UK in a little bit later, but I do promise. But this is an interesting video. The mainstream media, I'm not a huge fan of.
Case counts, 7-day rolling averages, positive test rates, all these.
So this is Chris Cuomo. So he's the brother of Andrew Cuomo, who's the governor of New York. So Chris Cuomo is a journalist or a reporter for CNN. And he makes this passionate plea to the government, do your damn job, okay? So I'm not a huge fan of it, but this is an interesting video. So let's see what he has to say.
Case counts, 7-day rolling averages, positive test rates, all these graphs, maps, and figures. People are frustrated and they're tired of it. The president is banking on that. That's his strategy, that you'll get bored and disinterested. He'll even ignore the pain and commitment of the people we rightfully called heroes. The ones who choose to walk day after day into hospitals that are all too often out of control. To be there with those who are afraid, who often die alone, to care for the suffering. They can see with their own eyes that what he's telling you is BS.
We show cases, 99% of which are totally harmless.
Kaylee, I cannot tell a lie. McEnany can defend that garbage all she wants. But even the chart right behind her head says the virus is worse than POTUS is pushing. Politicians will spin it, especially Trump. But we can't. We got to be straight with each other. You want school to open in the fall so we can get the economy back and get our kids where they're supposed to be, where they can learn, because this at-home stuff isn't working. Sports, shows, resume, sit down inside, see the people you want to see, live your life that you kill yourself working to deserve.
This is very interesting because this was the type of message that was being presented by the right-wing media at the beginning of the lockdown. Now, CNN or the centrist, or I don't want to call them left-wing media because they're not left-wing media, but the opposite, you could say, to Fox News, are now pushing the same message, which is interesting, but it's directed at Trump.
Only way.
Apologies, guys. There's some problem with the stream tonight. Deep apologies. I don't understand what the problem is.
Virus. Forget about blame. We have to do what the other nations did. We have to move forward from where we are right now. The answer is twofold. First, you have to take responsibility. You have to wear a mask if you can't socially distance. You got to wash your hands like crazy. I got the crazy dry skin too. So what? I'm going to tell you this. If you get sick, it's going to be terrible. So yeah, doing these things I just mentioned can kind of suck. But nothing can defeat us if we're motivated and we are together. The second goes to that as well. The reason that we're not beating this thing is because we're not working hard enough to do it. We don't have the data. The fact is, too many in positions of power are hiding the truth and hiding the reality from you, and they're hiding from it themselves. The reasons are political and odious and obvious. You'll get the chance to judge those in 120 days. Too many at the state and federal level are ducking. and covering between the biggest numbers they can find. Listen.
We test much more than any other nation. And we have testing at a level that nobody's ever done before. Nearly double the number tested in any other country.
So this idea of, yeah, we're testing more than anyone else. Cuomo speaks like a real leader. Hi to anyone who's just come on the stream. Welcome. Conservator, welcome. Also someone else joined. Obi-Wan, not Obi-Wan, Obi-Don. This idea that, yes, we're testing more than anyone else. And because we're seeing more cases because we're testing more. Yes, but if you're seeing more cases, it means there are more people infected. If you're testing more and the number of new cases is declining, that means you're succeeding. If you're testing more and the number of new cases increasing, means that you have a problem.
We have no national strategy on testing. We're not doing it smart because he doesn't want to. It's totally on him. And volume doesn't equal efficacy. And he knows it because there's people telling him it all the time. We're not testing anywhere near the rate other countries are. We're doing so without any plan. This is what the president's own CDC director said just last week.
I don't want to get into the numbers of tests because I don't think that's the real issue. It's how testing is used and what's the consequence.
Okay? That's his guy. We've seen long lines as hundreds wait at drive-through testing centers. It's not getting it done. All those tests still have to go to a lab to be analyzed, which means people who doctors have identified as likely to be exposed are left to wait in line with everyone else for their results. Lines which, once again, are back to taking more than a week. All of this burns through valuable reagents and swabs, which aren't, we still don't have enough of this. He didn't use the legal authority he had to get it done. He did it for the wall. He didn't do it for this.
Well said. He did it for the wall, but he wouldn't do it for this. Why? Because the wall was a benefit for him. Saving people's lives doesn't benefit him. Trying to do something, because Trump ignored it at the beginning, in the same way that Boris Johnson ignored it. If we ignore it, then it will go away. But it didn't ignore it. It didn't go away by ignoring it. It got worse. They tried to use political tools against the virus. And the virus doesn't care about Twitter. It doesn't care about news cycles. The virus will fill up your hospitals. Everything you do to suppress the virus is to protect your hospitals, protect your healthcare system. Once it collapses, no amount of tweets or no amount of comments on social media or speaking to journalists or attempting to spin will work. Because ordinary people will go to the hospital and they will see for themselves the situation.
The lack of testing strategy leaves it up to the states. Some do it well, some don't. Means we're not comparing apples to apples when we look across the country. It's the difference between judging a baseball player on total hits versus batting average. You know what I'm saying? Both are useful, but they're not the same. Uniform, open, and accurate data is necessary to answer certain key questions that we...
But of course they won't do that. They don't want transparency. Because then it will show that they were late to the game. It will show that they were incompetent. They would prefer to protect, and I keep saying this, it's about protecting themselves. It's not about protecting the public. It's not about saving lives. They will say it. We're here to save lives. It's not. It's about saving their own political careers.
Still don't know. And the only reason we're not transparent is because we want to hide from the reality, especially our president. And it's killing us. It's killing us. Take a listen to what this federal government is finally doing that it's been talking about for months.
The whole of government approach.
This whole of government approach, the whole of government approach.
The whole of government response that we spoke about so many times.
The guy in charge of the task force, the VP, he doesn't want to get this done. The whole of government approach. That would mean HHS handing down national guidelines for both diagnostic and antibody testing. It would mean a strategy for how to monitor hotspots and defining national reporting standards.
I think a huge problem the US faces is that there's so little trust between citizens and the government. And politicians have used this, have encouraged this for decades. They've convinced people not to trust the government because the government is your enemy for political reasons. It helps them get into office. Washington is the problem. I view it as a different problem, but they use it in a cynical way to say, yes, Washington is the problem. Don't trust the government. We need small government. This virus, this pandemic has demonstrated that small government doesn't work. You need a large government with a huge amount of power, with the power to impose lockdowns and restrictions. Otherwise, you're allowing individual states to try and fight the problem on their own. And it's very easy to move from one state to the other, to spread the transmission.
While we're at it, it would mean the VA secretary showing up to answer how the hell he's taking care of the people that we promised to do the best by. A labor secretary insisting on protections for workers who have to be in dangerous places like meat processing plants. The HUD secretary defending fair housing rules at a time that so many are hurting. In other words, it means do your damn job. I know he doesn't like the reality. What is your reality? Why are you there? And if you're not going to help people, get the hell out and let somebody else do it. There are plenty who want to do the right thing in this country.
Okay, I don't know if this is a promotion of Joe Biden, but I think somebody, a journalist, needs to ask Donald Trump, are you going to resign over this? He would lose his mind if you had asked him that question. But I think a journalist should ask him that question. Are you going to resign over this? Over the, was it 130,000 deaths so far? You should resign. It would be the honorable thing to do. Of course, he would lose his mind and he would walk off the stage. But Chris Cuomo is right here. Do your damn job. Italian Americans don't pull punches. Yes. I understand that he's a journalist, he's a reporter, he's with CNN, and there is this polarization in the US. CNN are bad or CNN are the truth. Yeah, I think it's somewhere in between. I'm not a fan of the mainstream media, but he didn't say anything wrong here. Everything he has said is correct. He's a CNN presenter. His brother is the governor, yes. So now that our blood pressure is up, I want to maybe reduce it slightly. So I just want to share you. Let's lighten the mood a little bit, but we'll stay on Donald Trump, okay? So this is a funny video. It should be the right one.
History and culture, so important. We are living in a time that's as evil as any time that there has ever been. You know?
This is the most evil time. So this is some of Donald Trump's history problems. Yeah. Donald Trump went to, I don't remember which university he went to. I don't know how he went to university, how he got into university. Maybe his dad paid for him to go to get into university. But this is Donald Trump telling it as it is.
You know, when I was a young man, I studied medieval times. That's what they did. They chopped off heads.
You didn't have to. In medieval times, we chopped off heads.
The Continental Army suffered a bitter winter of Valley Forge. Our army manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did
It took over the airports.
everything it had to do. People don't realize, you know, the Civil War, if you think about it, why?
The Civil War. Why? Why? Nobody asks why. I love how Trump asks these questions as if nobody has ever asked these questions or nobody's ever thought of it. He was the first person to actually think of these things.
People don't ask that question. But why was there the Civil War? Why could that one not have been worked out?
Why couldn't that have been worked out? So instead of having slavery, how about we have a little bit of slavery? How about we do that? Wouldn't that be, a good compromise? Couldn't Abraham Lincoln sat down with what was his name? Not Jefferson. I'm apologies to my American friends. I don't remember who the president of the Confederacy was, but whoever he was, couldn't they have sat down and negotiated a deal? It would have been the greatest deal in history. A little bit of slavery light. Was Liam? It was you that chopped heads, Maximilian. Oh yes, apologies, my bad. Jefferson Davis, thank you so much, Jefferson Davis. Thank you so for educating me on that. So Lincoln could have sat down with Jefferson Davis and they could have worked out a deal. Slavery light. diet slavery. This is my laughter is sarcasm, okay? I don't want YouTube to close down my channel thinking I'm making fun of slavery. I'm not making fun. I'm making fun of the people who don't friggin' understand slavery. The war was about paying debt, not slavery. It's just part of what a lot talk about. When Robert E. Lee, Great American, bombed Pearl Harbor in the Battle of Little Bighorn, he said, "This is Sparta." Oh my god. They had the best airports in Canada. Those airports were tremendous. Gluten-free slavery. Oh my god. I'm going to have another laughing fit like the last time.
People don't realize, if you go back to the Civil War, it was the Republicans that really did the thing.
So if you go back to the Civil War, it was the Republicans who did the thing. What the hell is he on about? The Republicans did the thing. You mean started the Civil War? Ended the Civil War? What are you on about? So Robert E. Lee was a...
So Robert E. Lee was a great general, and Abraham Lincoln developed a phobia.
What? Does anyone know about Abraham Lincoln's phobia? Was it about having a mustache? I don't know. What was his phobia? Did he have a phobia about wearing a bulletproof vest? Did he have a phobia about was it going to the cinema? That's why he went to the theater. What was his phobia? Did he have a phobia for bullets? Eventually, it didn't work out very well for him.
Honest Abe. I wonder if he was really that honest. But you know what? Let's assume Honest Abe was Honest Abe.
He was a lot more honest than you than you are. I think anyone on the planet, even Boris Johnson, is more honest than Donald Trump. His best joke was about the planes in the American Civil War. Yes, they took over the airports.
But Lincoln had almost developed a phobia because he was having a hard time with...
Please, I want to know what this phobia is. Please, he was scared of spiders. A phobia of vampires. That's it, Alex. Exactly. Wasn't it Abraham Lincoln vampires? It was a vampire hunter. It was a phobia of vampires. That's didn't Lincoln make slavery illegal in the Confederate States while it was still legal in his own? I don't know about that. I'm a complete ignoramus when it comes to American history. Haven't the states switched? Wasn't the Bible Belt democratic at the time of the Civil War? The U.S. has... I once put Viagra in my ear. Made me hurt of hearing. Panicky Abe. That was Abraham Lincoln's fear. It was his phobia of flying. It was like what was it, Pia Baracus in the A-Team, where they had to hit him over the head with an oar to put him on a plane. Abraham Lincoln was the same. You know, they couldn't get him flying, so they had to hit him over the head with a stick.
A true great fighter and a great general, Robert E. Lee. He was going crazy. I don't know if you know this story. General.
I don't know if you know that story. Trump just makes things up and then says, I don't know if you know that, or people say it's fear of a damn razor. Because you guys are comedians, you should actually have your own channel making these types of jokes. I'm getting on Oh my god, if Mrs. Max is hearing me, she's like, what the hell's going on? She needs to come on the stream to understand what I'm laughing at.
He was going crazy. I don't know if you know this story. General Grant. The great General Ulysses S. Grant.
Ulysses. he was a time traveler from ancient Rome. Will, you have got a channel. Oh, post it post on one of my on my videos the link to your channel. I'll check it out. Howling G Man Trump. Oh my god. Howling G Man Trump. Fantastic. A-team reference. Did you hear about the new Lincoln sitcom? Dude, did you hear about the new Abraham Lincoln sitcom on ABC shot in front of a live studio? Oh my god. Can I cheers? Yes. Yes, of course. We broke Mexican. He was allergic to coffee, whatever the hell you pronounce it.
He went in and he knocked the hell out of everyone.
I love the image here. He went in and he knocked the hell out of everyone. Was he like Mike Tyson or something? This is the type of language that Trump uses. You know, it works for his. Oh my god, Tim. He went in and he knocked the hell out of everyone. Oh my god, this is just comedy genius.
He had a serious problem, a serious drinking problem.
Well, Trump has a serious drinking problem. He can't drink without two hands.
But man, was he a good general. And he's finally being recognized as a great general.
Frederick Douglass is an example of somebody who's done an amazing job and is being recognized more and more, I notice.
Had Andrew Jackson been a little bit later, you wouldn't have had the Civil War.
Andrew Jackson died 16 years before the Civil War.
He was really angry that he...
Where does Trump get this information from? You know, if he said, well, my opinion about the Civil War, or this is, I have a drinking problem, two mouths, one hand. Sorry, two hands, one mouth. Stupid me. It took 20 minutes to prove it. Trump has a serious presidential problem. You scared my cats, Max. Apologies. You're loud on the smart TV, laughing mad, and the poor cats can't understand what the noise. Apologies, Marilyn. Well, I'm on smart TV. That's cool. Oh my God, Andrew Jackson. When he saw what was happening.
with regard to the Civil War. He said, there's no reason for this.
There's no reason for this, even though I'm dead.
And remember one thing, because I always consider him to be a true great, and people never give us credit for this. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican, right?
Yeah, we know Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. A Republican back in the 1800s was different to the Republicans of today. Now, you are a Republican. Surely you would know that.
I always said nobody got treated worse than Lincoln. I believe I am treated worse.
This has to be the worst phrase Trump has ever uttered. I believe I am treated worse than Abraham Lincoln. Do you want to test that theory?
I'm treated worse. We weren't allowed any rights. We had, for the first time in the history of our country, we had virtually no rights.
There were no rights in America until Trump came along. So what was all that First Amendment and Second Amendment and guys saying we want to defend our rights? But they had no rights until Trump came along.
Process. So the great tariff debate of 1888, we had so much money, we could do whatever we wanted. Then in 1913, they ended tariffs, okay? Somebody got stupid, and they ended tariffs.
Somebody got stupid.
And then in 1928, you had the Great Depression. For a lot of different reasons, not necessarily our country's fault, but a little bit our country's.
I wonder where it started. I wonder what was the name of the street it started on. I wonder where that street was. Was it in China? Was it some city in China? Was it in London? You know, was it a street in London?
I mean, people forget that at that time, Hitler was virtually unstoppable. He was going through countries like cheese.
He was going through John. I think you mean like a hot knife through butter. But Trump is so obsessed with putting cheese on his cheeseburger, on his burgers, so he, you know, the butter reference would make no sense to him, but cheese would make sense to him. What the F is he mentioning tariffs in 1913? Will, your guess is as good as mine. It was in Chinatown, Germany. Chinatown, Germany, 1930. 1929, sorry. Like a rat down a rat trap. Can you imagine Trump in a university history class? Belgium is his favourite town. Brick Lane, fantastic, Jeremy. Oh my God. Sorry, apologies to Marilena's cats.
America built the Empire State Building in just 1 year. Believe it or not.
No, I don't know how many years it took, but I think it took about 12 years or 8 years or something like that.
Not in 9 months. Can you believe that? They say a wall is medieval. Well, so is a wheel. A wheel is...
A wheel is medieval. You've heard of the ancient Greeks, the ancient Egyptians. What came before that? The Phoenicians. I think most of these people had wheels.
Older than a wall. The wheel is...
A wheel is older than... Okay. I remember this whole wheel thing. They're talking about Trump was going, yeah, maybe we should build a wall of wheels.
Older than the wall, you know that?
During a heated phone conversation with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau regarding tariffs, Trump asked, quote, "Didn't you guys burn down the White House?"
Didn't you burn down the White House? You know, there were... Maybe we should ask Boris Johnson if he knows who burnt down the White House.
Trump was apparently referring to the War of 1812, which was fought against the British. The British burned down...
Well, British, Canadians, there's British Columbia, so, you know, it's British, it's British, Canadian. What's the difference? They use the metric system. They sound weird. Isn't that British enough?
Down the White House, the original White House in 1814, the British.
We have to understand our past. We have to understand our history. Because if we don't know our history, it could all happen again.
Yes, 2016 could happen again.
Have to know our history.
I see Donald Trump, when he leaves office, he will become a history professor. He'll reopen Trump University. He threw flaming wheels at it. Trump is a parody. Unfortunately, 1,000 subs before the end of the quarantine. He's not a parody. That's the problem. I miss 2016. Apologies. So the Empire State Building was built in 1 year and 45 days. I didn't know that. I thought it took longer. I don't know. So I don't comment about how long. I wouldn't say it took this amount of time because I have no idea. Good compilation video. It's not mine. It's from Now This. Now This is a fantastic channel, so I do recommend subscribing to them. They have amazing stuff. This is more. They normally have more serious videos, but this is just one of their funny ones. Trump University is an oxymoron. Yes, but it did exist. It was a way of scamming people, obviously. Okay, so let's get back to the serious business once again. Let me see. So we're back to the UK, and we have Killer's favorite British politician.
Members are now familiar with the process, and the chair will not.
So we're going to see Matt Hancock respond to some questions in Parliament, so I'm going to comment on that as well. Once again, if you want to hit me with a super chat, you should be able. The super chat should be working, and make sure to like the stream. We're up to 240 viewers. That's amazing, fantastic. So just before we look at this, I'll read some of your comments. By the way, this friend of mine is also a Brexiter, wants a no-deal Brexit, and was pissed when I said it's better to be a deal, or even the EU, than not doing. He says the EU are bureaucrats. Wow, that's a common... Matt, 50,000 nurses, Hancock, yes. Have you seen Led by Donkeys, Boris and Comments Corona response video? No, I haven't seen that. I must check it out, Alex. Thanks for that. I'd say let's make a bet you're wrong, and he doesn't want to make a bet that a deal is better than no deal. Didn't have courage, I'd say, if he'd win. Don't mention this. Don't mention what? Thanks for that super chat, but don't mention this. I don't understand. Washington is the problem, is the exact opposite to Maximilian and Madame Guillotine. USA, a constant and persistent case study in arrest development. You did. Idiot me. Well, thanks for that super chat. Very kind. Soon to be 50,000 furloughed nurses. He mentioned it. Refund. Yes. It's in the post. Like Boris Johnson's child welfare money.
Give reminders of it before each division. The doors will generally be locked 12 minutes after the start of the division, although the chair retains the discretion to extend that period if need be. Right, I now call Jonathan Ashworth to ask his urgent question.
Ask the Secretary of State for Health to update the House on its response to the coronavirus pandemic.
Secretary of State.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We are bringing coronavirus under control. Yesterday's figures showed 352 new cases, the lowest since lockdown began, and that's down from over 5,000 a day at the peak.
The new speaker seems a bit lame. I agree 100%. He seems to be just phoning it in. He doesn't seem to be really holding people like Boris Johnson or the other ministers to account. And the chamber is empty.
209 patients are currently in mechanical ventilator beds with coronavirus, down from 3,300 at the peak. The latest number of deaths recorded in all settings in the UK was 16. New figures this...
Okay, but the new deaths is 16. But I've seen cases, the data for today, I think this is probably from yesterday, but the cases for today are over 100 again.
This morning show that for the last 2 weeks, the number of people who've died from all causes has been lower than the normal average for this time of year. And because we're bringing the virus under control, we've been able to restore some of the things that make life worth living. This weekend, Restaurants, pubs and hairdressers were buzzing with activity for the first time in months. And yesterday we were able to ease restrictions for the 2.2 million people who've been shielding across England. So they can now spend more time outdoors in a group of up to 6, whilst maintaining, of course, social distancing, Mr.
Kevin, Max, are you taking some fungi tonight? I wish, but no. It's just pure comedy.
Speaker. Our plan has always been to lift the national lockdown while taking ever more targeted action to suppress the virus.
I'd like to know about the R number. Have you noticed that we haven't heard about the R number for a long time?
Seeing a similar approach in other countries like Germany, Spain, and Australia, where overnight they locked down Melbourne. We took last week difficult but vital decisions about Leicester. Since then, we've been working with Leicester and Leicestershire, and I'm pleased to say that together we have brought down the 7-day infection rate from 135 to 117 cases per 100,000 people. Mr. Speaker, in reopening hospitality, we've also introduced contact tracing for customers. This system...
Okay, but when is that going to end? When is the lockdown in Leicester going to end? Is it indefinite?
Is working. I want to thank all those who are making the system work and pay tribute in particular to 3 pubs that have taken specific action. The Lighthouse in Burnham-on-Sea, the Fox and Hounds in Batley, and the Village Home in Gosport. They have all closed for a deep clean and staff testing after in each case a customer had tested positive. They are doing the
What about Witherspoons?
right thing by their customers and by their communities. This is NHS test and tracing working precisely as intended. 3 pubs shut so others can be open. And I think the whole House is grateful. Mr. Speaker, coronavirus has been the worst global pandemic in a generation. Here, we protected the NHS, we built the new Nightingale hospitals in 10 days. At all times, treatment was available for all. Our medical researchers discovered the only drug known to work. We've built from scratch almost one of the biggest testing capabilities in the world. We're getting coronavirus cornered, but this is no time to lose our resolve. The virus exists only to spread, so we must all stay alert and enjoy summer safely.
But this entire message of enjoy the summer but stay alert, it's counterproductive. Have a good time, but make sure to avoid to maintain social distancing. You either are strict or you're lax, but it's trying to be both at the same time.
Jonathan Ashworth.
I'm grateful to the Secretary of State for that answer. He's quite right. We are through the peak, but we must not be remotely complacent. There's thousands and thousands could still die from this virus over the coming months into next year. On the point about Leicester, I obviously welcome that news about Leicester, and I'm grateful for the way in which he and his officials have kept me updated. Could I just ask him, what is the exit strategy for Leicester? How does an area that has gone into a local lockdown escape from a local lockdown? In Germany, I understand local lockdowns are lifted at around 50 cases per 100,000. Will he be applying similar criteria here in the United Kingdom? I think people in Leicester and potentially other towns and cities that could go into lockdown would welcome that clarity today. Of course, the Pillar 2 data has been an issue of some contention, but much of it has now been delivered. But there are still complaints that the way in which the data set has been delivered is incomplete. Directors of Public Health need Pillar 2 community data in real time on a daily basis. They need total number of tests undertaken, as well as those that are just positive, and they need patient identifiable data so they can put in place the extensive contact tracing needed to keep all of our constituents safe. In Leicester, there's been speculation that the textile trade or food manufacturing has been responsible for the outbreak, although we still don't actually know why we had that outbreak in Leicester.
So I just want to comment on that. He's correct. What happened was they linked the outbreak to a garment factory with terrible working conditions. And then also, I don't know if it was a meat processing plant or it was some food processing plant. with terrible conditions. So what the hell is going on here? Why are we allowing these industries to remain open if they are the source of these outbreaks? I assume that they have been closed until the outbreak has been resolved.
But many of these places where there have been outbreaks, whether it's Kirklees or elsewhere, have usually been characterised by low pay, insecure work and lack of decent sick pay. So can I ask him to look again at sick pay entitlements, because people will not isolate unless they're given that financial security.
And he's right. So there were cases of people working for £3 an hour, and then if they called in sick, they were fired. So if you're on the breadline, if you're risking to lose your livelihood, and you feel ill, what are you going to do? Are you going to say, well, I'm not feeling well, I'm going to stay at home and get no support from the state? Or are you going to go into work and try and bear with it?
And finally, he said that yesterday, or rather, Mr. Speaker, on Sunday, he said that asymmetric transmission is a problem. Totally asymptomatic, I beg the pardon, asymptomatic transmission is a problem. We agree. Could he explain why he's not routinely testing healthcare workers? We've now got a position in this country where Premiership footballers are tested twice a week, but NHS staff are not routinely tested. And
what the hell? Really, what the F? And try not to swear. So you have football players tested twice a week and NHS staff not tested. Why is this only coming out here during Prime Minister's question time in Parliament? Why isn't this talked about in the newspapers? This is the first I've heard about this.
Finally, on care homes. The initial guidance from the government downplayed the risks to care homes. Care providers were sent conflicting guidance throughout this outbreak. Staff could not access testing until mid-April and are still not tested routinely. PPE supplies have been inadequate. Thousands of families have lost their loved ones in care homes to this disease. Care workers themselves have died on the front line.
But he shouldn't be focusing on these negative things. He should be focusing on the positive. Boris is fine. The government are doing a great job. People are staying alert. Why are you focusing on all the negative all the time? You should be supporting the government. The government is doing the best job they could have ever done. Okay, they ignored it at the beginning, but now they're doing a fantastic job. Why isn't he focusing on that?
Understand why people are so insulted by the Prime Minister's remarks when he said too many care homes didn't really follow the procedures. Can he appreciate the hurt that has led to care home providers today, for example,
So sorry, just want to drums to the bass. Del Boy Trotter track and trace 5-for-1 multi-pack test. Go and get them. Listen to this pair. It sounds like they are talking about the UK, and in reality they're talking about England. What positive? Exactly what positive. The government is now doing a good job on testing. If you have the money or famous getting tested is easy. I love old people. Old boy, I love old people.
Describing the comments as clumsy and cowardly. And can he tell us, therefore, which care homes didn't follow procedures and what these procedures were that apparently were not followed? And will he take this opportunity now to apologise for the Prime Minister's crass remarks?
Yeah.
Now, the problem with this type of questioning, and you're going to see it now, I haven't actually seen Matt Hancock's response. Well, it will be a response to part of the questioning. He will pick out which ones he wants to answer, and he will answer to some of them. But he's not going to get Boris Johnson to apologise. Boris Johnson has never apologised. I think if Boris Johnson apologised, it would be a lie. That's the only time Boris Johnson would apologise for something. Buonanotte, my wife is telling me that I need to go to bed. Get to bed, Brian. Thank you so much for the super chat earlier, but get to bed. You don't be a bad boy. And don't be neglecting your wife. So have a good one. Thanks so much again for coming on the stream. But let's see how Matt Hancock responds to this. But it's the same old case of asking 10 questions and Matt Hancock responding to one of them.
Secretary of State. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Firstly, on Leicester, he asks rightly about the process needed to bring Leicester out of lockdown and bring it back to the level of freedom that's enjoyed in the rest of the country. And what we said when we took the measures just over a week ago is that we needed to see 14 days of data, and so we proposed to make announcements on the next steps on the 18th of July. Of course, if further measures are needed in the meantime to tighten up, then we would take them immediately. But as a
But you can't have a wait and see. You must have a procedure. You must say, okay, when we arrive at this threshold, then we will reopen the city. It can't be an indefinite wait and see, because the people have their lives to get on with. I understand not opening too quickly, and I fully support that, but you must have a criteria to say, okay, when we arrive at this level, then we can reopen. I think it's reasonable. For example, here in Italy, they reopened when the numbers were sufficiently suppressed. They had, I don't remember the exact number, but they had a number in mind. They said, when we arrive at this level, when we have had a constant Hancock, look a squirrel. When you have a constant suppression, then we can, for a certain amount of days, we can do that. But this idea, okay, we're going to look at it in the future, gives the impression that you don't actually have a plan.
As I said in my statement, the good news is that the data are currently moving in the right direction.
Sorry, Mike. When we've run out of salt and vinegar crisps, then reopen it.
He asked specifically about a figure for the point at which such a local lockdown might be lifted. We're not going to use or give a specific figure because both the level and the rate of change matters. If the level were lower but it was going up, that could be a worse situation than a higher level that is under control and falling. So you've got...
What the hell does that mean? If we have a level that's lower but going up, then a higher number that's decreasing. I don't understand what he's talking about. I don't understand. Maybe I'm an idiot, but I don't understand what he's talking about here. Does he mean if the number is increasing or the number is decreasing? Because you could have 5 cases, but if it's doubling every day, that's a problem. You could have 50 cases, but it's declining. Well, that's probably going in the right direction.
To look at both the level and the rate of change. I'm glad that he said that data is being delivered. He mentioned some more detailed data, and I'm very happy to look into those proposals. He mentioned asymptomatic testing and the asymptomatic testing of NHS staff. As this House debated 10 days ago now, Mr. Speaker, we have worked with clinicians to come forward with a scheme that is supported by those clinicians for the regular testing of...
So blame the scientists. The scientists have given us the advice not to do something. Once again, this idea that on some aspects we take full control, we take full responsibility. In other aspects, when there's a risk that it's going to be a failure, well, it's the scientists. The scientists told us to do this.
Of NHS staff. That scheme is now agreed and in place. And of course, we constantly monitor it and we monitor the number of cases amongst NHS staff. I'm content with that scheme that was set out almost 2 weeks.
But you didn't answer the question. The question is, why are they not being tested? Yeah, well, we have a scheme. And, there are people in the scheme, and the scheme is good, and the scientists have looked at the scheme, and it's a good scheme, yeah, and I'm happy with the scheme. And, okay, can we go on to the next question, please? This is Matt Hancock on every question. He's asked a question and he doesn't answer the question. He starts talking and rambling about something that's unrelated to the question. Word salad Hancock.
Weeks ago. He also asked about care homes. And throughout this crisis, care homes have done amazing work. And the Prime Minister was explaining that because asymptomatic transmission was not known about, the correct procedures were therefore not known, and we've been constantly learning about this virus from the start and improving procedures.
No, you haven't. So he's being very cautious with his words here. There was a period when asymptomatic transmission was not known, but then we moved into a period when we did know about it. Now you can't say, well, we didn't know about it, then we're not guilty for not doing anything about it. There was a period where we didn't know about it, then we did know about it, and other countries around the world provided evidence of asymptomatic transmission. So you can't get off the hook by just saying, well, we didn't know about it, but we followed the science. No, you did know about it for a period, and you ignored the science.
All the way through. And I pay tribute to the care homes in this country who've done so much to care for the most vulnerable throughout this crisis.
And what about Boris Johnson apologising? No mention of Boris Johnson apologising. No mention of which care homes were the problem. Why can't you mention which care homes were the problem? Or at least what the problem they had was. Once again, he's avoiding the questions. The important question... I didn't actually understand what the reference was. I don't know if it's about Matt Hancock. The problem here is that the question was a good question. Which care homes were the problem, and what was the problem? What were they not following? And he won't answer that. Because there was no procedure. There was infections taking place in care homes, and the government had no plan for them. Care homes called up the government. They were asking for help. They were asking for PPE. They were asking for guidance. Boris will never apologise. The comments won't have it. Where's the government guidance on one-night stands? Hit that like button, guys. We'll just do another few minutes on this and then we'll move on to the next video. But Matt Hancock is extremely frustrating.
Come to the Chair of the Select Committee, Jeremy Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Regis Chair of Medicine of Oxford University, Professor Sir John Bell, told the Science Select Committee last week that saturation testing of NHS hospital staff was an absolute requirement and should have happened from the get-go. Last week, the Health Secretary delighted the social care sector by announcing that care home staff would be tested weekly. Now is his chance to delight not just Sir John Bell, but 1.4 million people in the NHS by saying that from the start of next month, they too can have weekly testing. Will he do it?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Well, as I just mentioned, we have put in place the procedures for regular testing of NHS staff, and those procedures are underlined by the clinical analysis. There's a difference between social care and NHS staff, not least that the impact of this disease in terms of the prevalence of coronavirus has been higher amongst social care staff in care homes. We've got to make sure that these decisions are clinically led, but of course I keep it under review and take the Chair of the Select Committee's comments very seriously.
You're making promises to do something. He doesn't respond to the promise to do something. And even a promise to do something is a bit late at this, like next month. Why next month? Why isn't it happening now? Why aren't these people being tested at the moment? Why is everything with Boris Johnson's government about we will? Everything is future. Nothing is in the present.
Just call in on the SNP spokesperson, Dr. Philippa Whitford. Dr. Philippa Whitford.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I welcome that the UK government website has now been corrected to add the 80,000 missing COVID cases in England and give a more accurate picture of the epidemic. Compared with Scotland, England currently has 6 times the number of new cases per head of population and 9 times the deaths. Even without a second wave, it's estimated this current level of COVID infections would lead to 27,000 additional deaths by next spring. Does the Secretary of State consider that level acceptable? Scotland, Northern Ireland and the Republic are following COVID elimination strategies to drive down circulating virus and reduce the risk of repeated lockdowns. Can he explain what his strategy is going forward?
Secretary of State.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, our strategy is to drive this virus right down. And as I said in my opening statement, we've now seen in the latest figures just 352 new cases recorded in the previous 24-hour period. We've been working very closely with the Scottish government, giving them as much support as we can, for instance, to get their testing up and running. And I'm very glad that right across the UK, we're succeeding in making sure that this virus is increasingly under control.
Okay, once again, you don't answer the question. Yeah, we're doing great. Yeah, everything's fantastic. We're only 300 new cases. That's, 300 is like 0, It's there is no strategy. There is no plan. It's all just see how things work out. It's unacceptable, the number of new cases. And it's unacceptable that you're ending the lockdown with 300 new cases every day. I'm not saying that it has to go to 0. But I think it's way too soon. Why aren't they following the examples of the governments in Northern Ireland, in Wales, in Scotland? They're doing it right. Why not emulate what they're doing? Anyway, I want to move on to the next video. But Matt Hancock is difficult to watch. So just the final video for tonight, and then because we're close to the end of the stream for tonight, but we're one of the final series videos, of course. So this is just a moment.
The fees relay.
So this is a care home boss. Completely disconnected from reality. It says care home boss denies £1,000 a week cost is unreasonable. So £1,000, not £1,000 a month, £1,000 a week. So this was a call into LBC. So let's hear what he had to say, or she had to say.
Vary from £700 to over £1,000. At the higher rate, most people are funded by the NHS. So we provide NHS care because the NHS doesn't provide long-term care. Mm-hmm. So for anybody that meets the continuing healthcare criteria, we're providing that on behalf of the NHS.
And that's a week, right? So that's £700 to £1,000 a week.
Yeah.
So what do you say to people who think, well, care homes charge a huge amount of money? That is an awful lot of money for somebody who is in the latter stages of life, who doesn't have a lot lying around, to have to find.
Is it really a lot of money when you can go to a hotel? You can go to a Premier Inn and pay the same as what a week that we charge for giving people 3 meals a day, 2 lots of snacks, outings, activities, and personal care. So is it that much to value our older people?
So £1,000 look, I haven't been to a care home for a long time. I had a relative who was in a care home. And I'm not criticizing the staff. I think the staff do an amazing work. But they're businesses. They're run to make a profit. And they make a huge profit. It's a huge industry. And it's an extremely profitable industry. You see, I've seen old people in these care homes, and here in Italy it's quite similar, paying £1,500, £1,000, more or less €1 per week. And what like, for what? The people get their medication through the NHS, for example. Food is produced en masse. It isn't gourmet meals. It isn't a 3 Michelin star restaurant that the people are fed. There's a bloody soup kitchen level of quality of food produced. And old people don't tend to eat a lot. They eat something very simple, mashed potatoes and some pulverized vegetables or meat or something like that, because they're not able to eat the types of things you would find in that type of restaurant. Hamster chowder for refill. Thank you very much for that big magnet. So this idea that yes, we need £1,000 a week per patient is absurd. Care homes should be retitled "Don't Care Homes." Beeps and tatties.
And give them decent quality of life and decent care? I don't think it is.
£1,000 a week?
Yeah.
For your average family, £1,000 a week is inaffordable. You have to sell homes. You'd have to. That is a huge amount of money.
It is a huge amount of money, but we're talking about giving somebody 24 hours care.
Mm-hmm.
But you could hire somebody to come and look after your family member for less than that. And that would be an individual. While the people who work in the hospital are not individuals per patient. There's one nurse per 10 patients, or maybe more than 10 patients. So it's not 24-hour care by one person. Everything is cost analyzed. It's economies of scale, I should say. You produce the food en masse, so it's cheaper. You put all the old people in one building, so it's cheaper. You have a limited number of staff work following a certain number of patients, so it's cheaper. And I don't know if they pay for medication or if that's paid for by the states, probably paid for by the NHS. So the care homes don't have to buy the medicine, or probably don't have to buy all of the medicine. I know that they have doctors working in the care homes who are probably paid for by the care homes. But they also they get money from the NHS because some patients can't pay it, but they have to go into these care homes. So, part of it is private and part of it is paid for by the taxpayer. I know that some of these care homes are run by very wealthy investment companies.
So where would you get that? If we look at nursery fees are comparable, and yet we are not giving.
But you don't put a baby in a nursery for 24 hours a day. You don't put it. But how is it comparable? And also they don't get funding from the NHS. They don't get funding from and also you don't have geriatrics dancing around and running into each other. You don't have the same type of insurance issues. But also, it's weird to compare a nursing home with childcare.
Giving people health care in the same way that we are for frail older people. So yes, it's a lot of money, but that's what quality care costs. You know,
I'd like to see a breakdown of the £1,000. I wish somebody... who the hell pays £1,000 a day? It's per week, actually, Night Raven, for a nursery care. Bupa healthcare complexes can warehouse thousands of elderly people. It's a business. It's double taxation. It's a business. This should be nationalized. The elderly need to be looked after. But it needs to be nationalized. It shouldn't be private industries. Why are private companies providing this? These elderly people need to be looked after. They have spent their life paying into a tax system, and then when they are no longer able to work, they're dumped in these places, and in some cases they have to sell their homes to pay for it. Mark Perry says £1,000 is nothing. Can you explain? No, like I'm not attacking you. I don't know if you mean it's cheap. It's nothing compared to where you are. Maybe it's more expensive where you are. Max, my gran is in a care home currently. Their invoices are deliberately vague, so it's hard to pinpoint. I know of cases. I've heard of cases where elderly people, the billing was like catering, £500 a week or £500 a month or something like that, where the elderly people were getting mashed potato and beans or something like that twice a day, and the catering was like £500 or €500. I don't remember which it was. Thank you very much, Angela. Thank you so much for that love from Scotland, my friend. I hope to visit Scotland sometime soon. I was hoping to visit this year, but some particular little horrible creature appeared and blocked all the airports. So thank you so much for that super chat. If you have a question, stick it in, but much appreciated. Anyway, so let's go on to see what else she has to say.
if you look at a basic...
Sorry, Mark says, considering the cost of the home and £1,000, staff, catering, training, equipment, building, repairs, insurance. But I understand that if the number is small, but a lot of the care homes have hundreds of residents. So you're talking hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. Sorry, a month. No, a week, not a month. But I'd like to see some data as opposed to, us just guessing what it is.
Hotel, then that's what, you can be easily paying that sort of price. £150 a night is what you can easily be paying.
What are your, just very briefly, what are your margins like then? For £1,000 a week for 41 people.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what the margins are. Thank you so much for that, Angela. And great to perhaps I can organise a max day when I come to Scotland.
Well, let's say you're at full capacity. You've got to pay for all the equipment, pay your staff, pay yourself. Is it a tightly run ship? Or is there money left over at the end?
Extremely tightly run. I mean, staffing costs run at around 62%, and then you've got the utilities, you've got refurbishment and equipment. All of that has to come out of it. You've got food. All of that comes out of those costs. So on the whole, it seems like a huge amount of money, and it seems that care providers are making vast amount of money, but that is not the case. And sadly, 46. The National Care Association did a survey recently, and
sorry, Anthony C says my mom's place is $4,220 a month, but they have an in-house Starbucks and pub. No charge for beer and wine. Why are elderly people drinking Starbucks and going to pubs? Is it an elderly home for hipsters? But I hope she's fine.
46% of small to medium-sized businesses, care homes, are likely to close because of insufficient funding.
I don't know. I still think £1,000 a month, a week, sorry, seems excessive. But how are ordinary people supposed to pay for that? I really don't understand it. Anyway, guys, we're at the end of the live stream for tonight, 2-hour live stream tonight. So thanks to everyone for your super chats, for your comments. Of course, we're not going to finish the live stream just yet. Of course, we have our one for the road. So I'll put that up on the screen now. This one is always a good one. So thanks to Killer for this one. Hopefully the volume isn't too loud.
Hi there, it's Nicola here. I'm wearing my wee favourite two-piece I got for Big Jeanette's engagement. Right, we'll be talking about air bridges, wedding venues, people who want to know what's going to happen when you go to the pub. And all I can tell you is this. See if there's a spike in this fucking horrible COVID disease, there'll be no pubs, there'll be no wedding, and there'll be no flying. And
there'll be no pubs, no flying, no weddings.
People saying, when can we start flying out the country? Well, I'll tell you this, and I'll tell you...
Nicola, please tell me. I want to know when I can fly into Scotland.
For now, Big Teresa was on the WhatsApp and she says she's coming back for Torremolinos and she's heading down to Weems Bay because even she doesn't want to be abroad during this. I'm just saying to you, help the economy, stay in Scotland. Go and do your wee holiday down the caravan, get a button ben or go a good wee walking holiday.
Sorry, get a baton ben? What the hell is that?
Socially distant, of course. I can only tell you what I'm telling you. The virus is still here. Australia, parts of Australia are back into lockdown, and I'm absolutely frightened that this is going to run out of control again. But no, we'll have the same questions over and over again, yet nobody's asking why the gulls are cawing mad outside the windies. That's a question nobody can answer. Right, we're going to go to our first journalist and see what he's got to say.
And looking forward, will you put in your manifesto a pledge to ask for a second referendum?
Listen up, Spunky. This isn't the moment to be talking about SNP manifesto and independence. I don't know if you've noticed, but we're in the middle of a pandemic. I just want to try and make sure the people of Scotland are safe. That's my job, is to try and stop people from dying. Not interested in elections right now. Keep all the gicks and quicks and gimmicks for Boris down south. He can do what he wants, blaming everybody for everything but himself. Here, that's not what we do. We try and take self-responsibility and look after each other. Right, I'm going to go. I'll see you all here tomorrow at 12:30. Clicky pen. Fucking feet are killing me. Frank, get the door. I want a wee sausage supper.
Fantastic. As always, get the door, Frank. So it has been a fantastic live stream tonight. Thank you so much to everyone for your comments, for coming on the stream. I think we had close to a record tonight, especially for a Tuesday. It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you once again for your super chats and your kind comments and your jokes. I had a fantastic night. So remember, guys, I'll see you on Friday at the usual time, 9:30 British summer time. So stay safe, wash those hands, and remember, as Boris Johnson always says, stay alert. I'll see you all on Friday night. Have a good week and a good night, and stay safe. See you soon.